It's cool to come to the Media Lab, and you guys are doing some cool stuff here at MIT. And so a little bit, I'll get to more of my background a little bit, but I'm a graduate student at Harvard. Then I worked in the aerospace industry before. Actually just left the aerospace industry a couple weeks ago. But I kind of want to talk about, Manly asked me to speak about the private space industry and new space. And kind of like what I'm passionate about, I am passionate about new space and aerospace and what it can offer. But also I'm really passionate about social justice and social entrepreneurship. And those are two seemingly very unrelated passions, but I feel committed to each one, and I don't want to compromise on either one. So I just thought I'm going to just combine the two somehow. So that's kind of like my background a little bit. And before we get into, I'm going to talk about my background, and then I work for Firefly Aerospace, which is an aerospace startup started by Tom McCrusick. And he worked for Elon Musk at SpaceX. He was the Falcon 9's designer and the test director for the Falcon 9. And he started Firefly because Elon was going for big rockets, like the VFR, and wanting to go to Mars, and leaving the market kind of wide open for small and medium satellites. And Tom saw that market opportunity and decided, we're going to do that. That's going to be really important for bringing space to everyone. So I'll give a company overview. I'll also take resumes. We are hiring for winter internships, summer internships, and full-time. So if you guys are thinking about wanting to work in the private space industry, Firefly is great. I'll get to that. What else is there? And then I'll kind of talk about, I'm going to quickly go through three cases, kind of unrelated to space, but I'll bring it back together. And the three cases are kind of ways people can think in different spheres and bring it together to solve big problems in the world. And then we'll tie it back to a case that I'm working on right now at Harvard that uses technology for space for social entrepreneurship. So, the first thing I want to start with is this quote. I don't know if you guys have heard of BlackRock Investments. They're the largest asset management company in the world. They're headquartered in New York, and their CEO, Larry Fink, issued a statement to all CEOs this year. And I pulled this quote from that letter, and this guy is a heavyweight because they have billions of dollars of money in all these companies, and he issued a statement kind of demanding that all the CEOs of these companies.
So it's supposed to be a third.
Yeah, I'm gonna flip it in a second. Yeah. So here we go, Manway. So he says, we see many governments failing to prepare for the future. As a result, society increasingly is turning to the private sector and asking that companies respond to broader societal challenges. Indeed, the public expectations of a company have never been greater. Society is demanding that companies, both public and private, serve a social purpose. To prosper over time, every company must not only deliver financial performance, but also show how it makes a positive contribution to society. And coming from the CEO of a $1 billion investment company who has so much money in many companies, in many industries, this is a blanket statement that's really impactful. Because it shows that, it's not, the world isn't traditional business anymore. You guys are all working on really cool things. And when you all scale and go to business, it's important to think about the impact we'll have to society. Because I promise you, you're going to face the things that Elon Musk is facing right now. You're going to face the problems, and people are going to demand more and more of you. So that's something that I want you all to keep in mind. And so a little bit about me. I kind of have two rows of logos, and the top row is kind of like my professional path, and the bottom row is kind of like my passion for justice path. And I kind of had to integrate the two. And like I was saying, I'm passionate about tech, I'm passionate about justice. So how does that kind of interplay? For me, when I was in high school, a senior in high school, I grew up in Clear Lake in Houston, next to Johnson Space Center. Our middle school was next door to JSC. Astronauts taught our science classes. It was a really cool place to grow up. I actually got to go to Florida to see the landing of a shuttle when I was really little. And I wish I could say that my origin was I remember that wonderful memory, but I really don't remember it at all. But my mom has a picture of it, and I think space has just been part of the fabric of Clear Lake for so long. And so I got to intern at NASA during my senior year of high school, and then I got to work with them that summer before college. And we kind of designed this very basic mission to Mars and presented for NASA astronauts. And that was like my first introduction to space. And then I went to UT for undergrad to study pre-med and biology. Did not follow through on that, dropped pre-med. And before graduating, I joined 10 Capital Group, which is a venture capital firm in Austin, investing in companies led by minorities. That was like kind of like my point where I really liked working in the startup industry. I really got to work with CEOs who are really passionate about making a difference with their product, but they just need access to capital. And so I think a theme of today's talk will just be providing people access. And so I actually left 10 Capital to work on the Guadalupe, which if you've heard of the Hyperloop before, my brother and I had a Hyperloop group called the Guadalupe, and I know MIT, y'all have your MIT Hyperloop. We competed against y'all. But so we were part of the UT Austin team, and we won an innovation award at SpaceX. So we developed some air-bearing technology that could, versus maglev, we thought airlev would be more energy efficient, dirt cheap, and like bring near zero drag. So that's kind of like what we worked on. And I was on the business team for that, so I led the funding, just like getting parts and things, which is really awesome to go to LA and be a part of SpaceX and get to meet Elon and all that stuff. And then after that, I joined Firefly Aerospace, and I'll go more into Firefly in a little bit. On the flip side, during all those years of kind of going from one place to another, I also did a lot of volunteer work. When I was undergrad, I did Feed My People, which is like feeding the homeless like 5 in the morning, 2 times a week. And I did that for a while, and just getting to coordinate people to go. And I think that's my first introduction to like really serving people. And I think even then, my mom taught me like you always have to help people and keep people in mind. Even like just be humble and go serve people. I volunteered at Camp Kesem. Actually was a volunteer as well with me that year. It was like a camp for kids whose parents had cancer, and my age group was 4 to 8. And I think the biggest lesson I learned that year is no kid is too young to really learn really deep things. Those kids were very mature for their age. And I volunteered at Mission Possible, which is another organization that does after-school programs for like kids from broken homes. And then I worked at Refugee Service Texas first as a resettlement volunteer, where we got to take refugees coming into Texas, like literally pick them up at the airport, go to Walmart and buy things, and then go take them to the apartment and set up for them. And then later I did a project with RST, where we got to build a business plan for Afghan women who wanted to start a sewing collective in Austin. So that was really cool, and I got to work with some sex trafficking victims there as well, kind of help them with job readiness skills. And then now that I'm in Boston, I'm involved with the Harvard Kennedy School's Carr Center for Human Rights, and I'm part of the empowerment approach for human trafficking survivors initiative there, where we just meet as 20 students and faculty throughout the semester, trying to address big problems and how we can better understand them and solve them. So kind of like two completely different things, and I really am passionate about bringing them together. And I think it takes a lot of very, very integrated thinking to solve these problems. And so first I'm going to talk about Firefly, and it's going to be pretty just company focused, and then I'll kind of go into other stuff. So Firefly. So Firefly is the core that I see. It's an answer to a problem. And the problem is a lot of people, and you guys probably know this, you guys are trying to launch a satellite in space. It's not cheap. It's not accessible. It's difficult. You guys are have to look for funding. Hold on, I think they're going the wrong way. But that's okay. And so satellites are expensive to launch, and like in 1999, Stanford and Cal Poly invented the CubeSats, which has been phenomenal for the growth of the satellite industry. But it's still expensive, and you have companies like space. I don't know if you've heard of the term new space. New space is like this new era of space where things are getting cheaper, smaller, and more accessible to people. And old space traditionally is they call it Space 1.0, where it's very governmental. It's a very it's like U.S. versus Russia kind of thing. Who's going to get to the moon first? And there was cost plus system where they could spend billions of dollars on developing very low tech stuff. It wasn't very entrepreneurial. It wasn't a private industry. and it kind of was constrained within the boundaries of countries. The private industry, on the other hand, started like Elon Musk, SpaceX, and other small companies, and they move fast, and they work pretty small. Like they're just a group of people who want to solve a problem, and they're not constrained by the government. So they start their own space companies. Elon went to Ukraine to buy rocket engines, and they told him no because he didn't speak Russian. So on the flight back, he decided I'm going to make my own rockets, and thus started SpaceX. And that's kind of the attitude that people have in the new space industry. It's like, I'm just going to do this myself. We can do it, and it'll be a lot cheaper if we do it with the entrepreneurial approach. So coming back to satellites, satellites are playing an increasingly significant role in space, from just Earth observation, monitoring things, and there's you guys. I don't want to go into details about how many applications satellites have. You'll probably know satellites are incredible in terms of how much they can offer the Earth and even space beyond. But the problem is getting satellites into space. It's been very expensive. So Firefly serves a small to medium satellite launch market. So we want to launch 3U, 6U, 12U CubeSats into space. Typically, satellites have to fly as primary payload, which is so if you take a rocket and the payload frames to the very top and you fit the satellite in there, and you have a giant satellite in there that wants to go into orbit. And say you just want to send, you're MIT and you want to send a little satellite, you have to kind of piggyback on that rocket, and it kind of brings your cost up really high. It's just really dumb because you get pushed behind. If the bigger satellite's pushed behind, you're not prioritized. So then you don't get a lot of choice, and so these rockets are more dedicated rockets for these small satellites. So the key factor to advancing satellite tech is economical, reliable, and frequent access to space. Say if you get delayed on a larger rocket, then you're waiting 6 to 12 months, and that just kind of puts you under the ground, and we don't want that. And so we think this is a problem we're solving. Firefly, you don't get a choice on what payload or priority you have or the orbit you want to take. There are multiple orbits, low Earth orbit or sun sync, and so you're kind of at the mercy of the bigger satellites. And then you don't have choice in launch date, because if the bigger satellite gets pushed, you get pushed. And then you have basically no choice to overpay for a bad ride. And that's kind of where Firefly kind of offers these advantages. We are a company that right now, which is a startup, we're at about 150 employees here in Austin. We have offices, we have an R&D center in Ukraine, and we kind of have offices in Tokyo, in San Francisco, and in London. And so what we hope to do is to bring launches up to, within 5 years, 1 launch a week, which is really frequent access to space. We want to bring the cost per kilogram down to $10,000, $15,000 a kilogram, which is typically SpaceX around $60,000 a kilogram, and then with bigger companies it would be over $100,000. So, and then we kind of want to white label our rockets in the future, so people could just even get their own rockets for their purposes. And one of the benefits of being in the private industry is that you're not constrained to working just with NASA, which we do work with NASA, we do work with DARPA and those U.S.-based government agencies, but also with the European Space Agency, Arianespace in Paris, and some other international space agencies. So it's kind of more like a very entrepreneurial approach to rockets. You can actually now, which is really cool, go on your phone and download an app and pick a rocket, pick the date you want to fly it on, price it, and they'll give you a quote, and then you just click submit, and you can submit your satellites to go to space on an app now, which is incredible. And so that's the kind of accessibility we want to bring, because we really believe that space should be for everyone. And one of the barriers to space is it's really high cost. And so bringing down the cost is going to go a long way. And Firefly is called Firefly because our CEO, Tom, was sitting in his backyard in Texas one day, and he just saw a bunch of fireflies in the sky. And I wish it was because of the TV show, but it's not. It's because the fireflies, he said, one day space is really going to look like that, because people are going to be going to space so frequently and so often. You'll see lights in the skies at night on the stars. So that's the goal of Firefly. We want to make it accessible. And again, going back to my key point of making space accessible and as the way to go. So it's kind of an overview. I don't want to go into super a lot of numbers, but you can see that there are a lot of satellites on hold to be launched because the constraint is there are a limited number of rockets. You see there are just a little over 500 satellites captive. And I think there's been like 2,000 satellites launched until this point around there. So there's a lot of satellites that have yet to be launched. And a lot of them are the small to medium-sized satellites. So there's a lot more satellites than there are rockets. And so even if Firefly, SpaceX, like all the companies like Blue Origin, we're operating at full capacity, we'd still leave out over half the market. So we need more people in the launch industry. We need more competitors. Even if we were to compete with SpaceX and everyone, you can see that we still don't capture all the demand. So it's a really good market to be in because you're always going to make a profit. And the profit margins are pretty big. So it's a great industry. It's a $3.2 trillion industry to go in space. It can be anything from Earth observation to asteroid mining, which was once sci-fi, no longer sci-fi. And so it's a great business. It's a great business model, honestly, to enter this. Because the more competitors, the better. It's going to attract costs down for everyone. And so it's also a very friendly environment. One thing I've learned about being in the aerospace industry, it's a pretty small community globally. So you get to know a lot of people. When SpaceX launched their Falcon Heavy with the Tesla, we had SpaceX engineers in our office. We were celebrating together. Like that's just kind of like the attitude it is in space. And I love that. It's very collaborative. It's very international. So just a little bit of our Alpha rocket. So right now we're building our Alpha rocket. It can take 1,000 kilograms payload to low Earth orbit. We have different payload variant configurations, so we can take either one big satellite, or you can split it up however you want. I brought the payload user's guide to our rocket in case people just want to look at it. And if you all want to think about launching with Firefly, we are definitely open to that. We want to be able to help academic institutions who have typically had a hard time launching into space. So we use 4 Reaver engines in the first stage, and then 1 Lightning engine in the second stage, and we'll be launching. So our corporate and design facility is where our main corporate office is, and our design office is in Austin, Texas. We have a pretty sweet facility, and our mission control is there. Our test site is about 220 miles north. We have 200 acres just north of Austin in Briggs, Texas, and that's where we're manufacturing our rockets. And then we secured Vandenberg, California, the Air Force Base, to be our launch site. And we are in the process of securing Kennedy Space Center in Florida to be our second launch site. And one of the things that's another entrepreneurial approach to this is that we want to keep a tight ship in terms of our locations. For example, having our design facility and our test facility within 20 miles of each other is great. Because, for example, a big company like SpaceX, they want to test. They're based in California, and their test site's is in McGregor, Texas. So they have to fly down and test their stuff. For us, an engineer can wake up in the morning, go to work, design something, then drive up to the test site, test it, modify it, bring it back, and then the next day they can go back and test it. So it brings it engineers really love that, being able to really test their designs the same day, and that builds up our speed in terms of manufacturing and things. And so we're going to be our launch sites being both coasts to reach multiple orbits. We're also looking at launch sites in Europe. And that's our corporate design facility. That's a corporate office right there. You'll see some pressure vessels. It's a carbon wrap thing where we store our fuel, our liquid fuel rocket engines. These are just I can send these slides out if people want to go into more detail. But these are basically just kind of details about our production side, our engineering side. We're fully funded by some investors based in California. So right now, cost is not a problem. This is a great company to work for. Just say. And then this is our test and launch facilities where we've been testing our engines successfully. We haven't really run into any problems yet. Things have been moving at a really good pace. We're ahead of schedule. We're shooting to launch our first 2 rockets late next year. And you can see that picture at the bottom was just from a few days ago. We did our first vertical test. We put our engines up vertically. And so we'll be definitely launching out of Vandenberg and Kennedy Space Center in Florida. We're also planning to have a large launch, which brings down the cost a lot more as well. So we're going to buy a giant barge and launching rockets off the ocean. And also international launch, like in Scotland if it's not too windy. And so the thing about private space, again, I mentioned this before, but you get to work with government and military, but also commercial and academic nonprofit institutions. So there is business made. And obviously not as much business and academic than there is in commercial, as you can see. But that's like the point of space, like making it accessible, dropping the price makes it affordable for people like you guys to send your satellites to space with us. And so I think that's going to be really important that Firefly democratizes rockets. And our logo is our motto is making space for everyone. By serving small and medium satellite markets, Firefly will connect billions of people by launching small satellites in orbit affordably, reliably, and regularly. So that's kind of our goal. And I'm going to play this video real quick, and I'll just share a little bit about what it's like to work at Firefly. Let's see, whoops. I hope this works.
Very rapidly, we're looking for new team members that are
That's our CEO, Tom.
to the mission of New Space. Going to space is probably the hardest thing you can do. If you can achieve it, you've done what is seemingly impossible. We're not just buying other people's stuff and putting it together. We have to engineer all the pieces, parts, put them into assemblies, and test them for the first time. We have to solve problems that none of us have solved before. Firefly's goal is to build a rocket that can get small satellites to space. Kind of people looking for here are people that have passion for space.
Sorry, guys.
Distinguish themselves in their career in academics. They know their subject. They're serious people who like to get things done. I'm not really hung up on getting people that are experts in rockets right up from the outset. I want people that are technically astute and have a passion for space and can learn the things they need to know to build rockets.
The challenges and problems make you dig deep and think like you've never thought before. And modifications for the question right there. You get to imagine things, try and make them reality.
This place is fast-paced. You always have your next goal. We're always hustling.
Firefly will get opportunity.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are your engines made out of a billet of copper?
Yeah. We do have some copper on it, and we do have some lines, and we use liquid cooling to cool our because it gets so hot and to prevent the copper from melting.
Wow.
To have a meaningful leadership role in a company right from the outset that you wouldn't get in a larger company.
That did not help.
Space has always been intriguing, but what's unique about this time now is that there's big business to be had in space. It's estimates around for $3.2 trillion in revenue by 2055. Dwarf any other business. Everyone at Firefly is partially owns the company. So if you come to Firefly, you get equity. If we become wildly successful, everybody can get kept along, and you're going to do very well financially.
We're all owners of the company. We're very motivated.
Do you expect to have better internet at MIT's Media Lab?
Those who are going to be very rich are going to be very comfortable.
Firefly is in a stronger position than it's ever been. We have an investor that's dedicated to pay entire book to get us to space. We need some more people to help us get to the next level. But everything is in great shape right now. People are the most important thing at Firefly. I'm CEO, but I'm in the field working with the team on building the rocket engine. We're just a bunch of guys and gals trying to do something amazing. You won't find hierarchy here or a lot of blocks or bureaucracy.
The picture's very sort of family-like.
Operator, stand by manual board.
Camera recording for all students on countdown. Starting 5, 4, 3, 1.
Firefly is great because you
It's cool in person.
like your personal touch
tough to be on this Zoom.
To be a part of the beginning of it all is an amazing feeling.
We're here to get an opportunity today on something that's very impactful, literally extending humanity's reach into the universe. And that's something in the economic basic where you can look back in your old page and be caught up into your grandkids about.
Okay, so we do have winter internships and summer internships available in case you want to work at Firefly. Just a little bit about, just like from my perspective working there, I went in there, like, it's kind of like, it's very fast paced. We're moving fast. We have a lot to do in the year leading to our launch next year. But it's a very startup feel. It's very like, millennial open office layout, but a good mix of very experienced professionals. We just had the former director of NASA join us at Firefly as an advisor. So a lot of great wealth and of knowledge and a great mentorship opportunity for young people. We can pass this around, it's like a 4-pager on just the company. And it's a company that, like, Tom really is a great guy. He's great. He's very accessible. He just sits out there with the rest of us. He's always the first one in the office, last one out. He does protect your time really well, despite it being a startup, and you're not overworked. But then again, people there really share that vision of, like, we really want everyone to be a part of space. We really want people to be we want people to access space from every industry, not just corporate, but also academic and nonprofit, and also around the world. So this isn't just a U.S. thing, but we want to be able to help. One of the cool things I got to work on at Firefly is I got to help set up Firefly Academy, which is a school for helping high school students and undergrads actually build a rocket to pass the Kármán line, to actually go into space. So that's something that we get to do. We've been funded to do that, and so that's been really awesome to get to set up that with University of Texas Austin, and we want to scale that to other universities as well, to bring in students and help them and kind of help, again, the theme of accessibility, like making space accessible. So I really recommend working at Firefly in case you want to try it out or visit. You can always email me. My email's right there. If you want to shoot me your resume, I will take it to Tom. And so he's requested that you'll send your resumes, because we need some top talent for this stuff to get our stuff to space. And I think Manway also has a resume book of people, or I don't know if he's building one, but
yeah. So if you don't get the email, you just send your resume to me.
Yeah.
Forward it.
But you can always email me directly as well. So that's Firefly. I just want to talk about that as an experience, an incredible experience for me. Definitely really awesome being part of a wonderful team of people who really care. So let's go into the next section. So going a little bit apart from, there we go. So one thing that has been kind of like with me from the beginning of my career at space, like even back in my high school NASA days, has been how I remember, like, one of the little assignments we had to do for our little high school NASA program was like just look at all the things that space has brought to everyday people. And like one thing I had to see was a robot that was playing violin way back when, and it was developed by Space Tech. And so these are some of the things you see Space Tech helping lives on Earth. The first picture is a water filtration. The second picture is prosthetic limbs. Baby formula is developed for space. Just things like memory foam mattresses, LASIK, and growing plants without soil. So these are technologies that were developed by space enthusiasts who want to help astronauts survive in space. And so they really do come back and help us as a society. So in that vein, like, I think it's important that we ask ourselves, as we do our research and as we study and as we work in industry, like, how can we help people? How can we serve the people around us? Because these things may have been accident or they may have been intentional. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of cool stuff